On my first day at Westview High, I felt invisible, like a ghost drifting through crowded hallways, unnoticed and unseen. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic drumbeat against the backdrop of unfamiliar faces. I desperately wished I could disappear, blend into the faded paint on the lockers, anything to escape the overwhelming feeling of being utterly and completely alone. The day dragged on, each class a blur of introductions and awkward silences. My attempts at conversation fizzled like damp fireworks. Laughter bounced off the walls, a foreign language I couldn't understand. I retreated further into myself, a turtle withdrawing into its shell. Lunch was the worst. The cacophony of the cafeteria amplified my sense of isolation. I ate my sandwich quickly, my eyes fixed on the plastic tray, a barrier between me and the world. A strange tingling sensation started in my fingertips, a feeling I couldn't place. I shook it off, attributing it to nerves. Days turned into weeks, each one a repeat of the last. The faces remained unfamiliar, the laughter still out of reach. I felt like an observer, watching life unfold from the periphery. My reflection in the bathroom mirror mocked me with its lost and uncertain gaze. Where did I belong in this whirlwind of activity? There were moments, fleeting and strange, that made me question my sanity. A pen rolling off my desk, stopping abruptly before it hit the floor. A locker door slamming shut as I walked by, as if pushed by an unseen hand. I dismissed it all as tricks of my imagination, my mind playing games on me. One afternoon I found myself drawn to the library. Its hushed silence was a welcome respite from the chaos of the school. I wandered through the dusty aisles, my fingers trailing along the spines of forgotten books. As I reached for a worn copy of The Catcher in the Rye, a sudden gust of wind seemed to pass through me. The books on the shelf rattled, their pages rustling like whispers in the wind. I froze, my heart pounding in my ears. The air hung heavy, charged with an unknown energy. I glanced around, but the librarian was nowhere in sight. It was just me and the books, and the strange feeling that something extraordinary had just happened. That night, I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. The incident in the library replayed in my mind, each detail etched into my memory. Could I have imagined it all? I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts racing. A sudden crash from downstairs jolted me upright in bed. My parents were away for the weekend, leaving me home alone. Fear gnawed at my insides as I crept down the stairs, my hand trembling as I reached for the light switch. The living room was in disarray. A lamp lay shattered on the floor, books scattered across the carpet. It looked like a scene from a movie, surreal and terrifying. The following Monday, I returned to school with a knot of anxiety in my stomach. The hallways seemed to press in on me, the noise overwhelming. I just wanted to disappear, to be swallowed whole by the lockers. As I reached my locker, a group of older students bumped into me, their laughter echoing in my ears. My books tumbled to the floor, scattering across the hallway. A wave of anger, hot and fierce, surged through me, and then it happened. The lockers on either side of me rattled violently, their metal doors slamming open and shut. The hallway fell silent. Every eye was on me. "Did you see that?" someone whispered. A mixture of fear and excitement filled the air. I stood frozen, my heart pounding in my chest, the weight of their stares heavy on my shoulders. For the first time since I'd arrived at Westview High, I was not invisible. Section 5. Fear and Fascination. The news of the locker incident spread through the school like wildfire. Whispers followed me down the hallways. Curious glances followed my every move. Some students looked at me with fear, others with awe. This newfound attention was intoxicating, terrifying, and utterly disorienting. I retreated further into myself, seeking solace in the quiet corners of the library. I devoured books on physics and psychology, desperate for an explanation for what was happening to me. Was this telekinesis? Was it even possible? The rational part of me screamed no, but deep down a flicker of excitement began to grow. One afternoon I found myself staring at a pencil on my desk. Could I move it with my mind? I closed my eyes, focusing all my energy on the pencil. Slowly, hesitantly, the pencil began to roll. A feeling of triumph surged through me, quickly replaced by a wave of fear. What if I couldn't control this power? What if it controlled me? The following weeks were a blur of experimentation and frustration. I practiced in secret, testing the limits of my abilities. I learned to control the intensity of my power, to focus my energy with increasing precision. But with each success came a growing sense of isolation. Who could I tell? Who would believe me? The fear of being discovered, of being labeled a freak, kept me silent, but the burden of my secret weighed heavily on me. The line between my ordinary life and my extraordinary ability blurred, threatening to consume me entirely. One rainy afternoon, as I walked home from school, I saw a group of students picking on a smaller kid. Their laughter cut through the air, sharp and cruel. Anger surged through me, a primal instinct to protect the vulnerable. Without thinking, I focused my energy on the ringleader of the group. He stumbled backward as if shoved by an invisible force. The other students scattered, their faces etched with fear and confusion. The smaller kid looked up at me, his eyes wide with gratitude and something else. Recognition. He knew what I was. Word of the incident spread quickly. Whispers turned to accusations. People started avoiding me, their fear palpable. I became an outcast, a pariah. The isolation I had felt before paled in comparison to this new ostracism. It was the price of being different, of possessing a gift that set me apart. One day I found a note in my locker. "We know what you are," it read. "Meet us at the old oak tree after school. Come alone." My heart pounded in my chest. Who were they? What did they want? Fear warred with curiosity. I had to know. The old oak tree stood at the edge of the school grounds, its gnarled branches reaching towards the sky like skeletal fingers. As I approached, I saw a group of students huddled beneath its canopy. They turned as one, their faces hidden in the shadows. "We know what you can do," one of them said, his voice low and menacing. "We want you to prove it." They circled me, their eyes gleaming with a mixture of fear and fascination. I could feel their energy, a palpable wave of anticipation. "Why?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "We want to know if it's real," another voice said. "We want to see it with our own eyes." I hesitated, torn between my fear of exposure and the desire for acceptance. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. I couldn't hide who I was any longer. It was time to embrace the invisible. Opening my eyes, I focused my energy on a nearby branch. It snapped off the tree with a loud crack, sending the students scrambling backward. They stared at me, their eyes wide with awe. For the first time since I had arrived at Westview High, I felt a sense of belonging. I had found my people. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking, sharing stories, and exploring the possibilities of my abilities. They weren't afraid of me. They accepted me for who I was, invisible gift and all. In that moment, I realized that true acceptance begins with accepting yourself. It doesn't matter if you're invisible or extraordinary, different or the same. What matters is embracing who you are, flaws and all, and finding your place in the world. And sometimes the things that make you different are the things that make you extraordinary.